says Grandmother Connections offers a vital link to desperately poor grandmothers in Africa. Today, we find out more.
The Kingston Grandmothers Connection is a group of about 200 women, not necessarily grandmothers. In fact, sometimes we've talked about changing the name from grandmothers to grandothers. It's a group of about 200 women who have come together over the past 10 years in support of two organizations, two charitable organizations. One is the Stephen Lewis Foundation, which is a very large organization across Canada and even into Australia, England, and the US. And a much smaller organization called Help Lesotho, which was founded by Peg Herbert from Ottawa. And she's been there also for about 10 years. The commitment of the Kingston Grandmothers Connection is to whatever funds we receive, we don't keep any of the money, but we divide it in half. And half goes to the very small organization and half goes to the larger Stephen Lewis Foundation. We're very proud of the fact that we've raised almost $750,000 in the time that we've been in existence. They are very good at connecting to community-level organizations in Africa on the ground, and they are the ones who tell us what they need, and we deliver that to them. Of course, many of them are very poor, whether they live in isolated mountainous villages or in cities. And when the AIDS epidemic hit, what happened is that many of these grandmothers lost their children. We raise our children in the hopes that they can help us as we age. Those children were gone. These grandmothers were left on their own, not only left on their own, but left with grandchildren to care for. Grandchildren who were grieving, who didn't understand what had happened, because of course when AIDS first occurred, none of us knew what was causing it and how it was passed on and so on. So there was all of that confusion, not only the grief and the confusion, there was the tremendous stigma associated with it. So that many grandmothers and grandchildren were afraid to even acknowledge that their parents or that their children had died of AIDS, or that sometimes the grandchildren were HIV positive as well because they'd been infected in utero. The book launch that we're going to have next Wednesday at the Salvation Army Citadel is a book that's been written by Joanna Henry, and she was an aid worker in Africa, but is also a very talented writer. And it was under the auspices of the Stephen Lewis Foundation, and it's basically the story of what has happened to the grandmothers in conjunction with the Stephen Lewis Foundation over these years since the AIDS epidemic happened. And it really is a story of, as I say, a story of hope. We're having our Market for Africa on Saturday, November the 4th from 9 until 3. It will be at the Greek Orthodox Hall, Church Hall, across the street from the main library on Johnson Street. We've had it there. This is our 10th year of having the Market for Africa. The books will be available there. They're also available at the Novel Idea. He has been very good to us to help promote it. I think we're going to have a window in his bookstore devoted to the Empowered by Love, the book that was written by Joanna Henry.
To find out more about the Stephen Lewis Foundation, their book, and the upcoming bazaar, visit their website. For K-Town Source, I'm Donna Chambers.